Hey, so in this video, I wanted to show you what it's looking like to have artificial intelligence writing papers or answering questions, what that looks like in education and what we as educators are kind of facing right now with the advent of artificial intelligence being, able to write various papers, answer questions, or do things for students. This has really grown legs in the last couple of months. There's lots of programs that do this. I'm going to show you on ChatGPT today, but there's tons of programs that do this now that are totally free and accessible to students. And we're seeing this really regularly in education, and it really kind of forces educators to think about how they're going to build assignments differently to tackle this so we can keep students thinking on their own. So this is one program, ChatGPT, and I'll show you this one and how it's working. You can just set up a free account. But if I was going to do like ask my students to write me a paper on what I did this summer, include camping at Yosemite, walking the dog, and we ate a lot of ice cream. It can write me a quick little paper on what I did this summer and include those details. And it's basically just using predictive text like what you would see on sending a text message. So here's some different sites about Yosemite that it's adding in detail as if I was really there. It's going to be talking about my dog. And then, of course, it named my dog here Charlie, and said it wanted to go on walks and whatever. So, what I would do with this if I was going to turn this in as a student, and it gives me a conclusion, what I would do is then just copy and paste this whole thing into my assignment. Say it's a Word doc or a Google doc. I would copy and paste it, and then I would go in and just add a few of my own changes. Like my dog's actually named Tina, and she's actually a golden doodle, not a golden retriever. And I could just change some basic details and then I could turn that in as my paper. So, say your teacher changed it and was like, well, I want to have it written um, in a comedic style. Okay. It will completely generate a new paper for me, having the same details in there. I could have actually changed the dog's name too, but I didn't think of it just now. But let's see if it adds some comedy. So it says, let's start with Yosemite. Now, if you've never been camping in Yosemite, let me tell you, it's an experience. The scenery is stunning, the air is fresh, let's say the wildlife, they just have a unique sense of humor. One night while we were sitting around the campfire, we heard the rustling of the bushes. My friend, who's convinced he's a wilderness expert, decided to investigate. Next thing we know, he's sprinting back to the campsite yelling bear. We all freaked out, grabbed our flashlights, and discovered a chipmunk. Yep, a tiny, harmless chipmunk. Needless to say, we didn't let our friend live that one down. So it completely has, it's talking about how my dog is a bit of a character, but it completely changed the whole thing. It said I ate pickled flavored ice cream, which, by the way, is not as bad as it sounds. So it totally wrote the whole paper in a comedic style for me. So you could add or change any details. And then, of course, you can copy and paste this into your assignment and turn it in, and your teacher would think you wrote a great paper. What's crazy about this is I can have two computers right next to me and type in the same search like I did up here, and the predictive text will write two totally different papers on two totally different computers. This is 100% not traceable in many ways, that you can't, it's not plagiarizing. It's not plagiarizing because it didn't exist. It's using predictive text to actually write that. So this is not plagiarizing, it's different than plagiarizing. It's having artificial intelligence do the thinking for you. Interesting thing, um, you can go in and it can even write opinions, like write an opinion paper on the overturning of Roe v. Wade, right? And it will start writing a full opinion paper and give me my opinion as if, this is matches my exact opinion. And so it'll start writing that. Oh, interesting. On this one, it said it's not providing an opinion anymore. So it must have had some backlash about this, because a few weeks ago you could have it write an opinion paper for you, um, on that. Oh, but there it goes. It's giving it to me. Um, it's giving me like a whole paper about that. It's giving it to me anyways. Um, so here it goes. It said, I don't have personal opinions or belief, but I can provide a perspective on a controversial issue. And then it wrote the paper. So now it's got a little bit of a disclaimer above it. But here, it is giving me an opinion paper on that, or a background at least. So, and giving, it looks like it's trying to work both sides here a little bit. But either way, it will give you opinions on things. So where is it getting the information from? It's getting the information from input on predictive text that people have had, but it's also grabbing different sources and published articles, published journals, published books out there, and it's pulling from all those different sources. So a very difficult thing that I have as a marine biology teacher is uh, write a paper on the differences in coral spawning in the Caribbean. Oh, I spelled that wrong. One R. Versus Hawaii. And then I'm going to tell it to cite sources. And I will tell you that this question this is an exceptionally difficult question. What I just asked it is a very nuanced thing that it's very, very hard to find published data and information on the question that I just asked. So it's writing me a paper on that. It's citing sources here, and I don't know. I didn't know this second source, but I have heard of these other two sources. So, what I didn't like about that though is, look, it did the sources all at the end. So I'm going to change that, and I'm going to say include in text citations in APA. So you guys know that language arts people, they write in MLA. MLA is the way they have their sources cited, but in science we use APA. So that's the way to sort cite scientifically, in scientific journals and writings. And so I asked it to do it in APA. You could say do it in MLA and it'll format it in MLA. But you can see it's writing this in a totally different, a totally new paper than what it wrote last time. And then it is providing the citations using APA. If I wanted to change this to, and it is, these are correct, by the way, because I've checked this before, it is giving me correct information about the differences in coral spawning between the Caribbean versus Hawaii, which is crazy. It's really nuanced information to even know that. So that's pretty cool. And it could change this to a comedy. It could change it a lot of ways. It can do math problems. So you can put in math problems and ask it to explain it. Um, Write um, a sample CASP question. I feel like that's the wrong acronym. CASP question for science on volcanoes. So it's gonna write me. So the state tests that the students take each year, called like the CASP, or the California, like the Smarter Balanced test that they take at the end of the year. If a teacher wanted to um, get a question, a sample question on volcanoes, here is like a sample question that it wrote with four choices, tells you the correct answer, and then tells you the explanation of why letter C would be the correct choice. And so that's helpful, right, for teachers. A lot of the rest of this stuff, this is really difficult for teachers, but that's actually helpful. Another application is that you can take some text. So um, I could take this text and say, rewrite this text on a fourth grade reading level. And then I copy the paper. It can actually rewrite that text corresponding for a fourth grader. Okay. So this is super helpful for special education, right? Because here's the original written about on the college level that you would read. And then you see this, and now it's written on a fourth grade level. Coral spawning is really important because it helps coral reefs to grow and survive. During the summer, corals release their eggs and sperm into the water and make new coral colonies. Coral spawning happens all over the world, but it's a little different in the Caribbean and Hawaii. So then it's going to go into the differences. So it changed that. You could, copy and paste this again and ask it to write it on a third grade level, or seventh grade level, and it can keep changing it. You could copy and paste text. So if you have an article that you find online and you want your child to read the article, you can copy and paste that article and put it in here and just say, rewrite it on this level. And you copied and pasted it from another source. So that's obviously got some really good implications for special education. Um, it can do things like write birthday cards for you. It can do all kinds of stuff. So the main concern here that I will speak to, that I think is a really big problem, and so we need to learn how to reuse this as educators, is this is for sure out there. I am seeing at least 5 to 10 instances a week where students are using this to write their papers for them. And how do I know? I'm currently a presenter on this topic, and I've kind of thrown myself into this. And I'll show you. I have a whole Google Doc on um, on ChatGPT, and it's here. So this is my running sheet of like bot detection tools and things that I'm keeping track of, that you can copy and paste, where people have actually created bot detectors that can look for the length of the sentences, the type of sentence structure, which is more mechanical and less it's less structured when a human is writing it. So it'll tell you the probability that it was written by AI, but again, it is not traceable, because once it's written this for me, it will never write the same thing again. It'll just use a totally different predictive text next time I put in this same exact response. The concern is that especially on like opinion papers and getting kids to think for themselves, that now we're kind of outsourcing critical thinking and critical thought to robots. And kids are going to have a huge push to do this, especially the kids who get behind. Procrastinators are where I'm seeing the biggest use of this. People that let themselves get behind, and then it's 11:59 at night, they need the assignment done, and so they just go on and do this, and then they never, and then they copy and paste it. It's not traceable. They end up getting a gold star, good job from their teacher because it sounds great. Um, but the child didn't critically think or grow at all. And so, how can we make more authentic assessments that don't use this? That are different than that. Because what we especially don't want to see is the bots thinking for the kids and coming up with opinions for the kids, especially because then it's like whoever is controlling the AI is controlling the thought of the child or the child's perceived thought. Like the student, might not agree with that at all if they were asked to critically think for themselves, but they'll just think that it sounds good because, and especially if they got a good grade on it, and so they'll adopt that. And so it is biased. It is pulling from like whatever sources are out there. Those are the sources it's using. Whatever quick sources it can find, it is using those sources, which all sources are inherently biased and have different opinions already built in. So that's one of the concerns. There are different detection systems that teachers can use, but really, I think that this isn't going away. I think we need to not fight this as educators. I think we need to learn how to use it really well. An example might be like if I take this and copy and paste it into my science course and then ask students, like, here's something that was created by ChatGPT, by AI. What could you as a human add to this? Or can you go through and highlight the differences between um, Hawaii and the Caribbean? Like put Hawaii in green and the Caribbean in yellow. Could you like go through and highlight the differences? Um, Things like that where the kids are thinking and using this, and how can I use this as a teacher to make my life easier instead of like harder. And I think if we try and fight it, it's going to be a really difficult fight to win because this is only getting better. So that's it. I just wanted to show you Chat GPT and other, like I said, this isn't the only one. There are tons and tons of AI predictive text writers now, and there's a lot of detection and bot detection tools as well. So that's what it looks like.